tambourine. Join in the festive dance. Give the joyful shout. Take up the battle stance. For the Lord is a holy God, and the Lord, He is redeeming me. Yes, the Lord is a holy God. He gives me His authority. Sound the glad tambourine. Join in the festive dance. Give the joyful shout. Take up the battle stance. For the Lord is my strength and song, and the Lord, He has mercy on me. Yes, the Lord is my strength and song. In His faithful love He leads me. Sound the glad tambourine. Join in the festive dance. Give the joyful shout. Take up the battle stance. Take up the battle stance. Take up the battle stance.
We are back with Right Opinions on Spreaker. Now, we broadcast live every Thursday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, so check your time zones. We'll be right here on Spreaker. Catch our network shows each evening, Sunday through Friday. And so we are joining with our panel again for this half hour, Mary, Teresa, Mona, Rollin, and I'm Marcia. And now we are going to be discussing the Middle East and how Christians are being wiped off the planet as for the ISIS and Allah and all of that. So we're going to start this segment with Teresa. Teresa, you got to unmute. I know.
Thanks, Marcia.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody's heard every day, in so many places every day, Christians are being murdered, just wiped out, like you said, off the face of the planet. And yet we hear nothing from our leaders, really. But when 3 North Carolina Muslims were gunned down by an atheist, Obama went on TV and he spoke out about the horrific killings. And yet, just, a week ago, Muslims threw dozens and dozens of Christians overboard off a migrant ship that was traveling from Libya to Italy. The Italian Prime Minister, Matteo Renzi, he dismissed it, saying that the problem is not a problem of a clash of religions. Well, they were in a joint news conference, and Obama stood beside him, silent. Yet the Italian authorities, they arrested and charged 2 of the Muslim migrants with multiple aggravated murders motivated by religious hate. And all we hear from our president, he berates Christians. He talks about the Crusades. Well, I would challenge him to let's have a real talk about the Crusades, because what's going on right now is so much worse. It is worldwide that Christians are being killed. And my question is, Obama sent troops to battle Ebola and fight that, but he does nothing to protect Christians. And I don't understand how the world leaders can stand by and just watch them being murdered continuously. And that's about all I have to say.
Well, that was a lot. I don't end it up that way. That was a lot. You said packed a lot in there. Okay, Mona, go for it.
I almost forgot to mute myself. I was reading about, do you know that ship that turned over on Sunday, that 900 went down? They've only recovered 24 victims. They had a little ceremony for the ones that were lost, The European Union, which is, what is trying to be done here in this continent of making the North American Union, so it's part of this globalization thing. The European Union has agreed to do a little bit, cut back on the rescue part of these saving these immigrants but all they're trying to do is just to increase the tax on smugglers, and they're thinking about building camps for immigrants. But the states that are in the European Unions are all divided on that kind of thing because it costs money, and you've got these folks coming in, they have no place to go. You put them in these camps. They're like over there in the Middle East. They're in those camps. Those camps are awful. The people in the camps are being raped and beat up. And, it is just such a horrible, horrible mess. And I feel like that what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go back and we're going to repeat history where we're going to have the Christian Crusades once again, because that's what's going to end up having to happen, is we're going to have to get the Christians in this world, which there are very, very, very many of us, up again in actual arms and fight these people just like they did in the medieval days. That's what Spain had to do when they did the Christian Crusades, and the Moors came in and they put their people in enslavement and took their women and put them in the harems. That's what I'm afraid of that we're going to have happen. Today I understand that that situation with the ship over there, with our, with Obama letting ours just kind of float around, and the guys on it, I guess, have been playing pool and ping pong or something while Iran has been skirting around the neighborhood. It's my understanding that the ships from Iran have turned around and they think they're going back to Iran, but they don't know they're going back to Iran. This bothers me. We have all of this horror and destruction over there with these people being mutilated, murdered, raped, and all this kind of, and just every atrocity you can think of happening in this world, and we don't know anything. We think maybe. It just blows my mind. What happened to our country? We used to know things. There was a woman that is still talking about the Boko Haram taking those girls and still saying, bring our girls back. She's still fighting for it, trying to get somebody to do something about it. I found out today that Boko Haram itself means something essentially death to Western education. I didn't know that that's what it meant. I thought it was just one of those names that you pull out of the book and there you go. But I tell you something. This PETA, the big mouths in this country of PETA trying to save everything, why don't they go over there and take on ISIS? Because now ISIS is killing the dogs. They're slaughtering the dogs. So I think that PETA ought to go over there and they ought to take care of these dogs. Somebody needs to do some blasted thing, because our president isn't doing a darn thing but traveling around the world having a good old time. That's me.
He's not only having a good old time, he's using up a lot of carbon, isn't he?
Isn't he ever?
Isn't he ever?
We need to put wings on his arms and maybe he can flap himself somewhere.
Yeah, well, he's already got horns on his head. All right. Okay, Mary, it's your turn.
Well, I wanted to come back to what Teresa was talking about a little bit on the Muslims that threw the Christians overboard, because not a lot of people understand what happened was they had a leak in this little raft or boat that they had, and the Christians, the 12 of them, got down and were praying, and the Muslim says they're praying to God. There is no God but Allah. And that's why they killed them, because they were praying to God instead of who they said. And again, we stand aside and say, well, that's their business. But we get into everybody's business except who they should be getting into. And what amazed me this week is Kirsten Powers, when she said that Obama was not doing his job, I about fainted, because even some hardcore liberals are saying, what is going on? And you know something's strange when that happens. You know, this religious prosecution of Christians, it's everywhere. But now they're openly doing it. Look, they're putting on the internet, they're showing them beheading people. Now, I mean, think of that persecution. Think of that. They can put it on the internet and we say, now, what is wrong with this country that somebody would watch a film, a video showing people, Christians, being beheaded, and they're doing nothing? Nothing. I don't understand it. You know, when it comes to this country, they'll say, what? Why? I didn't think it'd come here. And look, they found terrorists there just south of the border in Texas, you know, and they're here, and we're going to sit back, not we, you know what I'm talking about, but people are going to sit back and say, how did that happen? How did that happen? Again, just like we talked about earlier, we have got to stand up and do something. Say, call, write, whatever, and say, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to tolerate this, because that persecution of Christians, it's here. It may be slightly undercover, but we're seeing it by Christians that are being arrested and put because they didn't get a permit to have a Bible study in their house, or they were teaching creationism instead of evolution. And when we don't stop this kind of behaviors, the next thing you know, we won't be able to stop these kind of behaviors. Marcia, what do you think?
Well,
or who did I miss?
No, you didn't miss anybody. I'm going to play a sound clip right now, and folks, you need to listen to this. And you just stay right there. We're going to play this sound clip, and we'll be right with you.
Every time I look around, all I see is the violence, sick, all the sights and the sounds of blood spilled on the ground, and there's nothing we can do to stop it, the horror, or try to move forward.
Every time I look around, all I see is the violence, sick, all the sights and the sounds of blood spilled on the ground, and there's nothing we can do to stop it, the horror, but try to move forward.
The loss of so many lives, every single time, the people don't even care that what they're doing is a crime. This one-track mind, all they see is the finish line. The destruction wrapped around them is part of their own design. But how can you be so blind to the way the world's aligned? We live together, every single life intertwined will last forever. But there's these people sick in the mind who don't understand, can't comprehend the simple answer. There's just no point to all this violence, no point to hearing all those voices silenced. We tried so hard to help your life, your wife, your husband, your kids, and still you hate us like we caused you strife. I don't understand what makes you think that it's okay to go and kill on demand. I guess we're all American idiots then. The propaganda machine is still bringing us in.
Every time I look around, all I see is the violence, sick, all the sights and the sounds of blood spilled on the ground, and there's nothing we can do to stop it, the horror, but try to move forward.
Every time I look around, all I see is the violence, sick, all the sights and the sounds of blood spilled on the ground, and there's nothing we can do to stop it, the horror, but try to move forward.
What if this never happened again? If it were all the Saddams, all the Osama bins, all the crazies who thought that they were doing it right, all the monsters who were looking for a reason to fight, all the sadists who just need someone to abuse, all the killers who were trying to find another excuse, all the children alone, looking for a home, something to believe in and call it their own. Cause on the media, that's all I ever see, someone with a weapon going on a killing spree, or a man makes a bomb and thinks it means power, and relish just in making other people cower. Or hijacks a plane for a demonstration, flies into a symbol of world cooperation. All of our attempts knocked to the ground. That's what I see every time I look around. Every time I look around,
all I see is the violence, sick,
all the sights and the sounds
of blood spilled on the ground,
and there's nothing we can do to stop it,
the horror, but try to move forward.
Every time I look around,
all I see is the violence, sick,
all the sights and the sounds
of blood spilled on the ground,
and there's nothing we can do to stop it,
the horror, but try to move forward.
Wow, there you go. All right, Rowan, you're up.
Yeah, I'm encouraged that our ministers and churches are starting to wake up and talk to their congregations about the killing of Christians. And I think what happens is that people aren't stopping to think about, what if this was your child, or mother, or dad, or whoever, that were having their heads cut off, and bring it more personal. And these are our brothers and sisters.